I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
What up, peeps? How's it going, my friends? Hope y'all are doing well today. It's Carpo here on a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. I just wanted to talk about a few things, especially noting excitement or anticipation, which is something that, just a subject that popped into my head that I talk about now and again, and it's something that I love to share because I think most people understand the simple concept that being excited about something is more than just the event itself. And sometimes the anticipation of doing something outweighs the excitement of the event itself by far. And this can work a couple different ways because we can actually cause a lot of fear and panic about things that are coming up that may turn out to be nothing as well. One of the rules that I've found to this is no expectations. In other words, I don't anticipate anything is going to go a certain way. And there are some people who, if the things don't go exactly their way, they just turn into monsters. They have to plan everything down to every detail. But then there are other people who make plans down to the detail, but don't let it bother them if it changes. Really, the issue is being able to go with the flow. And I found it's a much happier way to live when you just go with the flow. And if something doesn't go the way you plan, then that's how it is. But having something to look forward to is important. So a lot of people have been let down by so many things in their life that they walk away from doing anything. In other words, kind of hide away in their shell. And we all know people like this. They're afraid to go travel because something might happen. Oh, I might blow a tire, or maybe I'll get stuck, I could get lost. There are a lot of different excuses we make for not doing fun things. I tend to kind of find myself having more excuses as I get older for the same reasons. Now, for example, I'm going to the Dead and Company show this weekend, who's the remainder of the Grateful Dead, along with like John Mayer, and they're pretty good. And we're going out to see them at the Gorge Amphitheater. So I'm driving the school bus with a whole load of my family and friends out there, and we're going to go out there and be gone from Thursday until Sunday. So naturally, you have to plan somewhat. You have to make sure that the oil is changed in the bus, and in order for me to even move the bus, I had to get the car out of the way, and the car had a blown tire, and then I had to change the brakes, and it was just this big thing. But I'm proud of myself because I did change the brakes, saved myself probably $600-700 because I had to swap out the rotors and everything, and got the car out of the way. You know, getting the bus loaded up and getting prepared. Yeah, sure, that's important. When I was younger, I could just jump on the freeway with a backpack and hitchhike down to a Dead show in Oakland. I did once. It was crazy. We hopped a train to try to go to Eugene to the country fair and ended up hitchhiking because the train stopped somewhere by the freeway that was nowhere near where we needed to be. And it becomes harder to make those bold leaps as you get older. In other words, you want things planned a little bit more, so at least you can make sure that you're not going to run out of gas and money and food, that kind of stuff, because it does suck to be ill-prepared. But as for extreme planning, you know, making sure that you know where you're going to meet each person and what you're going to do each day, you know, it's really hard to keep up on that stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, finding a way to have a good time without letting the little things bother us is really important. People are bothered by the silliest things, and the more a person anticipates something, the worse it can be for them when it doesn't turn out the way they wanted. A funny example of this would be the Game of Thrones ending. I was going to make a video just talking about this, but I didn't want it to seem like clickbait. So I was like, yeah, I won't even bother. I was going to make a video before the end of Game of Thrones, and I was going to say Tyrion's going to be king. For those of you who don't watch it, you'll be like, whatever. But I never watched it until after the first season, I think. It was over already, and my wife was into it. And then I went back and kind of watched the first and second seasons and caught up. And I enjoyed the show. It's okay. There's a lot of bullshit in it. But as the years went on, basically the ending that they made, everybody hated it. But the funniest thing is that millions of people signed this petition to have them redo the ending. They were so upset about it. And I've really looked at the psychology of this. It's the same idea as when people anticipate an album coming out from their favorite band, and it does, and they say it sounds nothing like their old stuff. You say, well, what did you expect? You know, what we expect and what actually comes out are two different things. Maybe the music does suck, but same thing with the movie. Maybe the ending does suck. I'll give you my personal opinion. It sucked ass, and it wasn't well thought out, and it was horribly done. But the idea that they're going to redo it for a bunch of whining people is just ridiculous to me. But I was thinking more about the reason of why so many people were upset. It's not just because it was the ending. If it was a movie, it wouldn't have been a big deal. It was the time invested in something. Years, 8 seasons, and then to just kind of throw it away like that was, kind of sad. Anyway, I was right. Tyrion did end up being king, for those of you who do watch, because that was I was like, I know Tyrion's going to be king. And my wife and my son were like, yeah, I don't know. We were kind of debating back and forth about who might be on the throne, and then sure enough, it's somebody you wouldn't expect, but he's really irrelevant, and Tyrion becomes the right hand. So let's get that out of the way. I was right. No. Other than that, the whole series was great. And it really made me think about other things in life. Like, for example, we spend a long time in a relationship, for example, with somebody, whether it be a friend or a lover, and then they start, abusing us or something, and then we just kind of stick with it because you hear about this with the older couples who say, well, we've been together so long, just kind of tough it out, and then it goes on and on and on. The fear of change, I guess, is what it is. We want to know what to expect each day, and it's really strange being a human in the modern world with all the things we do, travels, vacations. These weren't things our ancestors did. Vacations. Camping wasn't something that was even a thing until, just the last century. And people didn't have time. They didn't want to go out in the woods. They were trying to escape the woods. So it's just funny how much our brains are adapted to live in a completely different environment. And I try to analyze the psychological reasons why we do things as much as I can, based on sometimes a lot of junk science or pop science, and sometimes real science or papers that I read. But you find that a lot of ideas change about behaviors. And to me, understanding my own behavior is paramount to success in this life. And I mean that. It means being able to crucially analyze my own thoughts. That means my own expectations too, and kind of even it out. So yeah, okay, I can have some expectations of what I'm going to do this weekend or next weekend, but I personally don't plan too far out. And I haven't even touched on the idea of expectations that we have of other people. I've been talking about things and ideas or going to events. Like this weekend I'll be going to the Dead show. It'll be fun, go out with friends and family. I don't know what's going to happen after I get there. I just know what time I'm leaving. I don't know if anything that might happen in that time, and I don't make any major plans for it. Just go for it. But that's because I don't have expectations on a thing. It's totally different with people. You expect that those people around you, your family and friends, are going to treat you with a certain amount of respect, for example. Or that if you entrust somebody with your wallet to hang on to, that they're not going to run off to, steal your credit card if they're a good friend, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, we have expectations of other people, and that's even worse when people break our expectations of them. And that's a trickier one, because you can't just have no expectations of people, or it's kind of like planning for the trip. It's like, you can know the basics and say, oh, well, we'll see what else happens. Sometimes you've just got to take a chance. I mean, like, for example, trusting somebody you just met. We've all done it because everybody's just met someone at one time or another and maybe befriended them, and maybe they stay at your house for a night, or maybe you travel with them, or whatever it might be. Trusting people with one thing or another can be a very tricky endeavor. And the older we get, the less trustworthy we become, the more rigid we become in our foundations and beliefs, and the more we want to dig in and say, I want a simple life where I know my vacation is the same week each year, and everything is in its, proper place, everything on its shelf. And I can respect that, because as I get older, I see that order out of chaos is something that we've only recently been able to afford as a human species. That only in recent times have we been able to, have that luxury, I guess. But not just that, but the luxury of being able to sit and think. The idea that we can control our environment and make it what we want and make plans is something that is relatively new, but we've done okay with it, I guess. At least some of us. I don't do too well with planning myself. I suppose that there's another side to it. For those people who do have expectations and want everything orderly and make plans down to the last detail, I don't disrespect that, because those often are the same people who are accomplishing very interesting and specific, say, scientific endeavors, people who are very rigid on their schedule and their routines, just a different mindset that it takes to do certain things, to have certain hobbies, to have certain skills. And like they say, you know, it takes all kinds. It takes all kinds. It's really true. I mean, life would be so boring if we were all the same. So even though you have that neurotic friend who's always freaking out about the smallest thing, or that other friend who maybe is super abusive, or the other friend who's, well, not physically, I won't hang out with abusive people, but I guess maybe they tell bad jokes, or bad jokes and bad taste, but you know that they have a good heart. So what I'm saying is we get to know individuals, and we can see through some of their bullshit and just see their souls as good people. And it's interesting because, I don't know, relationships as humans, it's a tricky endeavor. That's all I can say. So anyhow, I guess I'll finalize this video before it gets too long. I pretty much covered what I wanted to say. More or less, to sum it up, making plans is okay, but planning things to too much of a detail can backfire. When we have too many expectations of life, then when they fail, it can bring us down. But if we have no expectations of anyone or anything, then we never get anything accomplished, and we end up getting screwed over by people who, for example, we just trust everyone or don't trust everyone. Then we might miss friends or make the wrong friends. You have to have, discernment, discretion, and that's something that has to be learned by experience. So the more time you've been screwed over, the more times you're likely to realize somebody who might screw you over, right? At least that's my opinion on it. So going through these experiences is always growth. We've never lost, we're never finished, we've never ended our journey. We're just on to new endeavors. And try not to have too many expectations, I guess. That's all. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll be talking to you soon. I'm expecting to leave.
Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Oh, now I feel better. Oh, yeah, see?